Have you ever spent hours decluttering, filling up bags, feeling proud for a moment, only to look around the next week and realize your home feels just as heavy as before? That was me, too. I remember sitting in my living room one evening, surrounded by piles of donation boxes, and instead of feeling free, I felt tired, almost defeated. I thought, why does this never end? And here's the twist no one told me back then. Decluttering itself isn't the magic solution. It's only one small part of the picture. The truth is, sometimes we hold on to things not because we love them, but because we're afraid. Afraid of losing memories, afraid of being forgotten, afraid of admitting that time has passed. For many of us over 60, clutter is not just about stuff. It's about control, about dignity, about proving to ourselves that we're still capable of shaping our own lives. But here's the good news. Once I started facing the real truths behind my clutter, not just the piles of things, but the fears underneath, I finally began to feel lighter. Not overnight, not perfectly, but gently, in ways I could handle. And that's what I want for you, too. So in this video, I'm not just going to share 5 harsh truths about decluttering. I'm going to walk you through them with compassion and show you the gentle ways to make them easier. These truths might sting a little at first, but by the end, I promise you'll see why they are the doorway to real freedom. And the last truth, the 5th one, is the one that completely changed the way I live. I think it might do the same for you. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? And how has your energy level, your relationship with your home, or even your daily rhythm been lately? We read every single comment. And your story might be just what someone else needs today. Now, let's start with the very first harsh truth, the one that almost everyone overlooks when they begin decluttering. Harsh truth number 1. Decluttering alone is not enough. Let me ask you a gentle but important question. Have you ever spent an entire weekend decluttering, filled bags for donation, maybe even took a trip to Goodwill, and yet, just a few weeks later, your home looked and felt the same as before? That's because decluttering alone is not enough. It's like putting a bandage on a wound without treating what's underneath. You can remove clutter for a day, a week, or even a month, but if you don't change the patterns that brought it in, the piles slowly return. I remember talking with Mrs. Linda, a 71-year-old widow I met at a local community center. She told me, I cleaned out my closet 3 times in 1 year. Each time I felt proud, and each time I filled it right back up again with things I didn't need. She paused and whispered, it wasn't the clothes I was holding on to. It was the comfort of buying something new, so I didn't feel so alone. Her honesty struck me. For her, clutter wasn't just about objects. It was about filling a deeper emptiness. And that's the hidden fear many of us carry. What if I let go and then realize I've lost a part of myself? What if I get rid of things only to feel regret later? For older adults, especially those over 60, it can feel like clutter is one of the last pieces of control we have left. That fear of losing not just belongings, but pieces of memory can be overwhelming. From my own journey, I learned this. Decluttering is only about 25% of the work. The other 75% is learning how to manage inflow, what comes into your home, outflow, what goes out, creating gentle systems so things don't pile up, and most of all, shifting your mindset. Without those, the clutter just creeps back in. A phrase I hold on to is from a retired teacher I once interviewed. She said, decluttering gave me a clean house for a week. Changing my habits gave me peace for life. That's the difference between a temporary fix and a lasting transformation. So today, instead of aiming for another exhausting purge, I invite you to take one small step. Notice what comes in this week. Did you buy something because you needed it or because it gave you a moment of comfort? You don't have to judge yourself, just observe. That awareness alone is powerful. Try it, and you may discover that decluttering isn't about pushing yourself harder. It's about living lighter, one choice at a time. You can do this too. And here's the bridge to the next truth. Because once we see that decluttering isn't the full answer, we face another tough reality. Life itself is hard, and so is clutter. The real question becomes, which hard will you choose? Harsh truth number 2, everything is hard, but you choose your hard. Here's a tough but freeing question. Which hard would you rather live with, facing the effort of decluttering or carrying the silent weight of clutter every single day? Because the truth is, both are hard. It's hard to look at a drawer full of papers and not know where to start. But it's also hard to live with the stress of not finding a bill, or the quiet frustration of knowing your home doesn't welcome you the way it could. One kind of hard is temporary, the other lingers. I'll never forget my conversation with Mrs. Evelyn, a 68-year-old grandmother. She told me, "When I open my closet, I feel defeated before I even get dressed. But when I finally spent one Saturday letting go of the clothes I hadn't worn in years, yes, it was hard. I cried a little. But afterward, for the first time in a long time, I felt like the closet wasn't bullying me anymore." Her words cut right to the heart. Sometimes the emotional weight is heavier than the physical one. Deep down, the fear many of us carry isn't just about the stuff. It's about energy. What if I'm too old to do this? What if I start and fail? That quiet voice whispers that maybe it's easier to leave things as they are. But here's the emotional nudge. Living in clutter isn't easier. It just hides the cost. Studies show that a chronically cluttered home can raise cortisol levels, keeping your body in survival mode. It's not just your space that feels chaotic. It's your heart, your sleep, your peace of mind. From my own journey, I've realized this. Decluttering is a chosen hard, but it's one that brings relief at the end. Living with clutter is an unchosen hard. It drains you without giving anything back. A wise friend once told me, "The pain of doing is sharp, but short. The pain of avoiding is dull, but endless." So here's a gentle step you can take. Pick one small hard today. Maybe it's deciding to let go of 3 items. Maybe it's opening just one drawer. The hard moment will pass quickly, and what stays behind is the lightness you've been longing for. You can do this too. And this leads us naturally into the next truth. Because once you accept that decluttering is about choosing your hard, you'll face an even deeper challenge, realizing that not everything you own deserves to stay, even if it once mattered. That's where the use it or lose it truth comes in. Harsh truth number 3, sentimental clutter hurts more than it helps. Let me ask you something very personal. When you open a drawer or look at a shelf filled with old belongings, do you feel warmth or do you feel heaviness in your chest? Many of us hold on to sentimental clutter thinking it protects our memories. But here's a hard truth. Often, those objects end up hurting us more than they help. They become anchors, keeping us tied to sorrow instead of letting us live fully in the present. I'll never forget sitting with Mrs. Helen, 74 years old, in her cozy living room. She had a glass cabinet stuffed with her late husband's coffee mugs, dozens of them, collected over 40 years. Some were chipped, some stained, none of them used anymore. As she showed them to me, her hands trembled. She whispered, "I can't bear to let them go. It feels like I'd betray him." But then her eyes filled with tears, because every glance at that cabinet reminded her of the loss, not the love. She told me that passing by it each day was like ripping open a wound, and then came her turning point. Together, she chose 2 mugs, the one he used every morning and one he bought for her as a silly anniversary gift. She placed them gently on her kitchen shelf, where she could see and use them. The rest she donated. And afterward, she said something I'll never forget. "For the first time in years, I feel like I honored him instead of drowning in reminders of losing him." That moment taught me something powerful. Sometimes less is not loss, it's love. The fear so many of us carry, especially as we get older, is that if we let go of the object, we'll lose the person, or that the memory will fade without the physical thing to hold on to. But the truth is, love doesn't live in chipped mugs or yellowing dresses. Memories don't stay alive because of dusty boxes in the attic. They live in our hearts, our conversations, the way we tell stories to our children and grandchildren. And when sentimental clutter grows too heavy, it can blur the very memories we want to protect. I know this because I walked through it myself. After my parents passed, I saved every little thing, their coats still hanging by the door, half-used notebooks. even pens that no longer worked. For years, I couldn't walk through my own home without being pulled back into grief. But one day I realized the weight of keeping everything was actually keeping me from noticing the joy in what I still had. I wasn't honoring them. I was burying myself. Slowly, gently, I began choosing. One photo that made me smile. One keepsake that truly carried meaning. And as I let the rest go, the grief softened into gratitude. There's a phrase an elderly neighbor once told me: "Objects don't keep people alive. Love does." That simple line carried more truth than any book on decluttering. We don't need an entire house full of things to keep memories alive. Sometimes keeping 1, 2, or 3 precious objects allows us to cherish them even more, because we can actually see and use them. Now here's where the unspoken fear lies. What if I regret it? What if one day I want it back? That fear is valid, and it's why I suggest a gentle practice. Create a maybe box. Place the items you're not sure about inside, seal it, and date it. Put it in a closet. If after 6 months, or even a year, you haven't opened it, you'll know your heart is ready to let it go. This way, you don't lose anything overnight. You give yourself space, time, and grace. And I want you to hear this clearly. You are not erasing your history by letting go of sentimental clutter. You are not betraying your loved ones. You are creating a home that supports the life you're still living. A home where you can breathe. A home where memories don't feel like chains, but like quiet companions. One woman I spoke with, age 78, said something that still moves me deeply. "I thought I was guarding my family's history by keeping all their things, but I was really just building walls around myself. Once I let go, I realized their love had been with me all along, whether I kept the boxes or not." That wisdom is priceless. So maybe today, just pick one item. Hold it in your hands. Ask yourself, does this bring me peace, or does it bring me pain? If it brings peace, keep it and display it with love. If it brings pain, consider letting it go, or at least moving it out of sight for now. There is no deadline. There is no judgment. Just one step, one choice at a time. And remember, you can do this too. And as hard as this truth may be, it connects directly to the next one. Because even when you're ready to release, you may find something surprising and sometimes painful. Not everyone wants your things, not even family. And learning that can feel heartbreaking. But also, strangely, it can set you free. Harsh truth number 4. No one wants your stuff. Let me ask you something a little uncomfortable. Have you ever looked at your shelves, your attic, or your china cabinet and thought, at least my kids will want these someday? It's a thought many of us have held on to, because it makes all the saving, all the boxes in storage, all the crowded closets feel justified. But here comes a harsh truth. Most of the time, no one wants our stuff, not even the people we love the most. I sat with Mrs. Dorothy, age 76, as she opened her cedar chest filled with carefully folded quilts, porcelain dolls, and stacks of photo albums. She had been saving them for her daughter, certain she'd treasure them as family heirlooms. But when the moment came, her daughter said gently, "Mom, I can't take them. I don't have the space, and they don't fit into our life right now." Dorothy told me she felt her heart sink. It wasn't rejection of the items. It felt like rejection of her love, her effort, her story. That moment captures the silent fear so many seniors carry. It's not just about clutter. It's about wondering, will I be forgotten if my things aren't kept? Will all of this mean nothing? That fear can feel unbearable. But here's the shift that changed everything for Dorothy, and for me too. Our children don't need our things to remember us. They need our presence, our stories, our love while we're here. A quilt in storage doesn't mean as much as a quiet evening wrapped in it together. A box of porcelain dolls doesn't matter as much as the story of why you collected them, shared over tea. And when I went through my own parents' belongings, I faced the same truth. The valuable collections weren't valuable at all. Not to me, not to anyone else. I kept just a handful of items that truly carried meaning, but the rest I released. And I realized something freeing. Love isn't measured in objects. It's measured in how we carry each other forward in our hearts. There's even research behind this. Psychologists call it the endowment effect, the tendency to overvalue our own possessions just because they're ours. What feels priceless to us often holds little meaning to others. That doesn't make our love smaller. It just means love was never meant to live inside a teacup or a jewelry box in the first place. One older woman once told me with tears in her eyes, "I thought my children not wanting my furniture meant they didn't want me. But when I let go, I saw it differently. They didn't want the heavy table. They wanted me to sit with them at theirs." That line has stayed with me ever since. So what can we do with this truth without feeling crushed by it? Here's a gentle approach. Instead of saving everything for them, choose one or two pieces that tell your story best. Give them as a gift while you're alive. Write a note or share the story behind it. That way the memory lives through connection, not obligation. For the rest, donate, sell, or pass along to someone who will use it now. You can even think of it as sending your things on a new journey instead of trapping them in boxes. And please hear this. Letting go of items your family doesn't want does not mean your life didn't matter. It means your love is being carried in a different way, lighter, freer, closer to the heart. So maybe today you can pick one thing you've been saving for someone else and simply ask, is this a burden or is this truly a gift? If it's a gift, give it with love now. If it's a burden, let it go. You can do this too. Because here's the truth. Once we stop holding on to what others don't want, we can finally start holding on to what matters most. And that leads us into the final, perhaps most liberating truth. Decluttering has no secret system. It only works if we begin, one step at a time. And that's where we're heading next. Harsh truth number 5. There's no secret, only action. 3 foot. Here's the last harsh truth, and maybe the one that hurts the most. There is no secret to decluttering, no perfect system, no hidden formula, no one-size-fits-all hack that will make it easy. The only thing that works is action. I remember talking with Mrs. Louise, 74, who had collected piles of decluttering books over the years. She knew every method, the 4-box system, the KonMari method, the 1-in, 1-out rule. She could quote them by heart. But when she looked around her living room, nothing had changed. She sighed and told me, "I kept waiting to find the right way. Turns out the right way is just to start." And that's the unspoken fear many of us carry. We want the guarantee before we begin. We want to know it won't hurt too much, that we won't regret it, that we'll finish quickly. But the truth is, waiting for perfect only keeps us stuck in the mess. I've been there too. For months, I'd walk past the same box of papers telling myself I was researching the best method. But all I was really doing was postponing my peace. The day I finally set a timer for 15 minutes and began, I realized action doesn't just clear space, it clears the weight in our chest. One senior I spoke with put it best. You can't think your way to a tidy home. You can only step your way there. That line has stayed with me. So let this be your gentle push today. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect weekend. Just pick one small action, a drawer, a stack of magazines, a single shelf, and begin. You can do this too. Because in the end, decluttering isn't about finding the magic secret. It's about rolling up your sleeves, touching the things you've carried for years, and choosing what stays with you into the next season of life. And as we close, let's bring everything together in one final reflection, so you leave not just with truths, but with courage to act. So here's the truth, my friend. You don't need to spend whole days cleaning, exhausting yourself, or chasing some picture-perfect home. What really matters are the small, steady habits that you return to again and again. They don't drain you, they build you. They give you back your peace, little by little. And please remember this, you're not losing your history when you let go of things. You're not erasing the love, the memories, or the years you've lived. You're making space for the life you're still living today, the mornings yet to come, the dinners you still want to enjoy, the quiet evenings that can feel lighter and calmer when your space finally breathes again. I'd love to hear from you. Which harsh truth spoke to you most today? Was it the reminder that decluttering alone is not enough? Or maybe the truth that no one else can value your things the way you do? Share your thoughts below. You might be surprised at how your story can inspire someone else who's walking this same path. And before we go, let me whisper this gently because maybe no one has told you today. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are simply ready. And you can do this too. Until next time, be kind to your space, and even kinder to yourself.